Howdy folks, welcome back. Not much activity going on the sun today, so I figured we'd do another video of these debris tails that I'm going to start pointing out for you. Watch this object here and you'll see two debris tails streaking back towards the sun or towards this object that's back behind it. Now these debris tails either streak behind the object like there, pointing back to the sun or back to another object that's coming out back here, or they streak back away from the object as it approaches, like say as it approaches the sun. So we're going to stop this here and go freeze frame it and go through it. So not only do I look for curvature on the backside of an object, I also look for debris tails. And right here, these two black streaks, and then you'll also see a white cone effect coming off the top of this round spheroid object pointing back towards the sun as it streaks past the sun, and the sun is ripping material off of this object and they streak back. It's either from, these seem to be pointing at the sun, but there is also a bigger object. So let's go forward here. Now watch here as this object comes from back behind the sun. Remember, we're looking down like a cone, almost like down a hallway, and these things are coming from back behind the sun and coming at you in the screen. Now you'll note that this big black object right here is the next object coming through, and look how it's ripping material off the sun, and you see debris tails streaking off of it going back behind it. So we'll go next frame here. And as it gets closer, you see it starts to grow in size. The debris tails are streaking back this way. And then as it passes, if you look over here, it's really ripped a bunch of material, a bunch of plasma off the sun. And you can even see where it's, making contact, or not contact, but a conduit of material is streaking straight at it too. And then as that object passes, so that first object had debris tails streaking back towards the sun and back towards this object too. So here we go at another date, and watch up here as another core passes by the sun, and you'll see debris tails streaking off of it, coming right about here. And then a secondary one right about there. So there's more than just one Nibiru. These are actually stellar cores that have debris tails that appear to look like wings, but they're actually tails of debris that are coming off of them. So now I've freeze framed it here as this planet approaches the sun. The sun's solar wind is also going back this way, so it's taking material off of this spheroid object and creating debris tails streaking back behind it. There's two defined ones on each side and almost like a third one here in the middle too, just like in the last one. Okay, here in this next frame you can really make out the spheroid object, and the instrument is actually reacting to the electromagnetic effect in these debris tails, outlining it for you. So there's another little image. You can even make out a little bow shock V forming on the front of this spheroid object. Okay, here's the next frame, and it continues to react to these tails right here. And here's the next frame as it moves more forward towards us, and it's still reacting. And here we are another frame later, and you can still make it out. And then one more frame as it starts to pass and starts to fade out here and move out of frame. And here we are a couple of frames later as two more objects right here and right here start to emerge. You start to see debris tails coming off this one, and you can see the debris tails starting to streak back off of this one right here. Here's the instrument reacting to those tails again. Here's the next frame. And the next frame. And one more frame right here. And then one last frame right here where you can even see this is starting to arc and go around it. Not too prominent here, but it's also arcing and going around this side of this one over here. This one you can see how it's arcing and going back this way, coming around and back this side. And here we go again. This is the same day, and you can see another one starting to emerge right here. You can see the curvature and the streaks, the tails starting to form as this thing approaches the sun from the back side. Here's the next frame as it starts to get more defined here and here. And the next frame as it gets sharper and sharper. And then the next frame. And one last frame right here. Okay, and then back to the beginning. Here we are at 0, 100, and I'm going to run this loop. See it? Okay, one more time. Okay. On to another day. Now this one's pretty obvious, so I'm just going to let you sit here and watch. See how the instrument's reacting to those debris tails? It's flickering. This isn't just like some explosion. That's actually flickering and reacting to the debris tails that are forming on the backside of this object as it approaches the sun. The solar wind is pushing material over that object and creating debris tails back behind it that are flickering because the instrument's reacting to the electromagnetic disturbance in the air there. So we'll do some frame by frame here. Here's a first good image right there. The next frame. The next frame. And note that this looks like fire. This is so defined, the up and down jagged shape of these debris tails. It almost looks like flames coming off of it. Okay, let's put it back into the loop. Pretty obvious. There's an object, a big black stellar core, coming from behind the sun and approaching it and going right over the top of it. I'll even speed it up here for you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about debris tails and how these things work, and that they're not just one Nibiru, but it's a stellar core with debris tails, and there's many of them. There's not just one. There are many of these objects out there. So love y'all, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next video.